Órale, Cholo Trucker, Moss movies and shows, man. I forgot, man, that I have not been live on this channel for a while, for a long while. Man, I've been wanting to do this for a minute, man. All right, so there's a lot of one hit wonders out there. Okay, there's a lot, but we're going to stick to three, at least on this one. We'll get to more definitely down the road. To me, the genre of action movies that I love the most is the 80s and 90s. I love some of the 70s as well, man. There's some great classics right there. But when you talk 80s, 90s, to me, it's a very special place in my heart, man. But we're definitely going to get to these three, and we'll get to more down the line. Now, I don't know movies. I'm not a movie mogul. I just like to watch movies and enjoy them. But let me bring somebody in who actually truly knows movies from Two Face Entertainment. He is one Mr. Fred Segura.
Yes, sir. Wait, afraid here. Hold on. Cool. I just got that from Steven Spielberg. Well, how you doing, my brother? How you doing,
Good,
man?
good, good, good,
Good.
good, good.
Good to
Actually,
see you. Good to see
let
you.
me take the banner down, man. There we go.
Okay.
All
Cool.
right.
Yeah.
Fred,
Yeah.
you are here, Holmes. First of all, you're here to let everybody know. Don't forget about the Central Cap, right?
Yes, sir.
That-
Yes,
That's
sir.
that's first and foremost, man. To
Always.
the people from LA, you're up north. To the people from San Francisco, you're down south, man.
Yes,
So
sir.
both
Yes,
worlds.
sir.
I
Yes to
take
both worlds, bro. Right smack in the middle.
that's back in the middle. That's right,
Yep.
man.
Yeah,
All right.
man.
So, Fred, you know, when you talk about action movies, um, a lot of names come to mind, right?
Mhm.
Especially if somebody says like, "Hey, man, action movies from the '90s." A lot of names come to mind: Sylvester Stallone, Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger, Stallone. I'm sorry, Van Damme, Seagal.
Mhm.
Even you can even probably still throw Chuck Norris in there. He was kind of still,
Yeah.
making a movie or two. He was a little bit more in the '70s and '80s,
Yeah.
but there's a couple of guys, man, where I was thinking that, oh man, this is probably going to be a new action hero, man.
Yeah.
Which is why I thought of these three movies, especially the last one that we're going to get into, because I
Mhm.
thought he was really going to become, a huge action star, man, alongside with Seagal and Van Damme, but he didn't.
Mhm.
But you know what, Fred? Let's get into them, man, and let's break them down. We're gonna go by order on how Rotten Tomatoes has it, man. So,
Oh man. Okay, this will be good. Here's where the fun begins, right?
all right. So first of all, man, from 1998, we are going back to 1998 in the movie Firestorm. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 12%. Fred,
What?
12. What? It didn't even make the
What?
team, homie. It
Oh,
stood at
come on.
12%.
That,
The movie
that's
is
hot,
an
dude.
the movie is an hour and 29 minutes long. Fred,
Yeah.
you just recently watched this, man. Talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit. This was Howie Long's. It wasn't his first movie, but it was his first main role. He was coming off of the movie Broken Arrow,
Oh
where
yeah.
he,
It's John
where he
Travolta.
played a villain, which I thought he did a pretty good job. But
Yeah.
talk to us about this movie, Fred. What do you think about Firestorm, man? And what do you think
You-
about Rotten Tomatoes?
well, for one, Rotten Tomatoes, I believe it's strong, bro. You know what? It's um, it's something to change because of the era, how it changes. You know, so we can look back. You can downgrade it. You know what I mean to what it is. But if you if you watch it at the time, I think it was excellent, bro. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, for the time period, you know, '98.
Mm,
I mean, there was it's what action movies were at the time. You know, it has the villains. It has almost like a Con Air. You know, with inmates and breaking out of prison, going into fight fires and so forth to make an escape plan. And I thought it was pretty good. I mean, excuse me, is it over the top a little bit? Yeah, it is a little bit, but it's a popcorn flick, man. It's good. I ain't wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, I mean, I thought it was
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah,
Even at the time and even now, it's like, all right, I could see that.
yeah. You also got a couple of other actors in here where William Forsythe, he's
Yeah,
the main villain, and I thought he always does a great job, man. I really
yeah,
like him in the
yeah,
movie. Um, I, you know, I guess people were kind of criticizing Howie Long because, oh, he's not an actor. He's not an actor. First of all, I thought he did a great job in the movie
yeah,
Broken Arrow, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought he played that part perfectly. So when he was jumping into this and it was gonna be like, hey, this is his movie. This is,
yeah,
he's the lead guy, and now he's a face, as you were saying, in the wrestling world. He's a good guy.
yeah,
He's not a
yeah,
bad guy. He doesn't have John Travolta and Christian Slater to kind of back him up on this. He is gonna be the main guy, and you got other actors, right? But they're kind of more behind him.
yeah.
What did you think about his acting?
You know what? I'll give it this, man. I thought it was pretty good, to be honest with you.
Mm,
It's not too bad. I mean, there's some, again, it could vary, bro, because it could be like, well, it's a little cheesy or whatnot. The acting, as far as the acting part, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't too bad. I mean, maybe in due time he would have gotten even better, but it wasn't terrible. I don't think it was terrible at all. I thought it was pretty good. He looked convincing as a firefighter. I mean, he did pretty good. I think so. I really think so. I mean, he looked the part, and he fit that. He fit that image. He fit that image pretty good, man. So as far as the acting part goes, man, I gotta say, it was pretty good. I mean, for the time period.
yeah, you know what, man? I would say this about Howie Long. I thought he would have been perfect in certain roles. This was one of them.
Yeah,
Also, I could have seen him like in military roles.
yeah,
If you're gonna make a military movie, I would have said, hey, put him in there to be like this badass or something. I thought
yeah,
that would have been he would have fit pretty good in that as well.
yeah,
Um, William Forsythe.
yeah.
There's something in the movie I think people probably forget, but he's supposed to be Canadian,
Oh yeah,
so he keeps saying a lot.
yeah,
You,
yeah,
you know, I'll take you home. I'll treat you to a nice Canadian beer, eh?
yeah, yeah.
He kept saying he kept
Yeah,
saying a lot. Hey,
yeah.
Fred, talk to me about some of the action and some of your favorite parts in this movie, man. I mean, it's the 1990s, dog. It's action
Yeah.
packed.
Well, you know what? I mean, I'll say one thing that again is going back because it's like now I watch it and it's like, what the heck? When William Forsythe, I can't pronounce his last name, but toward the end, he's in a bunch of smoke, and he just
Mm,
starts unloading. He just starts unloading, shooting everywhere till he runs out of bullets. And he just, he's in the smoke. He doesn't even know what he's shooting at. He just, I thought that was a little bit cheesy. But as far as the action, I'll tell you what. One of my favorite scenes though is when I guess the guy was Russian. No, the guy when he says, "Can you take on the fire chief or whatever?" And he goes into the room and he starts getting down with Howie Long, and they start going at it. Both of them are they're throwing each other around, and I mean,
right.
you know what? It was, dude. It's what more can you ask for at that part? You know what I mean? It's just they're going at it, two guys in the room, and they're just, I mean, no Diddy, but I'm saying like they're fighting it out, man. They're going for brokes. And the Russian guy actually feels superior to him. He goes now for the final chapter or whatever he tells him. He just, yeah, that was one. The other one too is well, no, spoilers, but it's 1998. The escape that he does, William Forsythe, the escape he does was another scene too. How he dyes his hair, he cuts his hair, dyes his hair, puts on the glasses, and he just kind of like he gets on the bus. I mean, he rides right out of there, dude. Like to go do what he has to do. just everything about it I thought was pretty cool, man. That those are they don't make movies like that no more, bro. You know, they don't. That was some of the stuff that I really liked. You know, because again, it can be over the top, but it's good over the top. You know what I mean? It's like some good cheesy stuff. I thought it was good, man. Like those are the scenes. Oh, the other one too, where toward the end when they're getting when they're leaving and Howie Long tells the girl, "Oh, well, we won't be seeing them no more." The big old truck comes out of nowhere, taking them, and
Right.
to the end, you know, and yeah, that you know, it's just stuff like that. I mean, there's a couple of lines that probably could have been left out. It would have made for a more serious, more you know. But overall, bro, I think it's action packed all the way through, man. The saving of the little girl. Um, they go in there, you know, and they're looking, and they, you know, they're in the house, and they get out, you know, obviously in the nick of time. And I, it's action packed. What else can you say about it? You know what I mean? That's really, I like the whole thing. To be honest with you, like I just thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, you know
Yeah,
the whole premise of the movie is pretty much what I enjoy. It's like, they're not cops,
yeah,
they're not in law enforcement whatsoever,
yes,
and they can't rely on any law enforcement. Nobody could go help them because these are firefighters.
yeah,
Okay, these are
yeah,
firefighters out in the wilderness. A big fire has broken out. They're out there. They run into these bad guys, and because there's a wildfire going all over the place, you cannot call in law enforcement.
yeah,
Instead, you got this firefighter that has to take them on. I just think that's pretty badass, man. Because
yeah,
you're cut off from the rest of the world pretty much. It's like you got to take these dudes on, man.
yeah,
And you are a firefighter, and you use your firefighting skills to do that. The
yeah.
the throwing of the axe when he gets out
Oh,
of the
oh
lake,
yeah.
he comes
Yeah.
out of the lake and just wham and throws that
Then
axe.
it was like, yeah, from the water too, right? It was like, what the? How did he get that balance? And just kind of, you know, but hey, it was cool. You know what? Now that you mentioned that, if you think about it, man, it's almost like Bruce Willis in the woods around fire in the sense. It's not like a Die Hard kind of movie, you know.
Mm,
When you
mm,
really think
mm.
about it, I mean, it's just kind of him going at it, you know, with these bad guys. Yeah, yeah, no, I gotta agree, man. It was good, man. It was yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah,
but
I like this movie, man, and yeah, definitely one hit wonder because we didn't see Howie Long anymore. And do you think, Fred, maybe it had to do because it was already in the late 90s? Do you think if this movie came out, maybe say 92, maybe he would have scored another role? Like I said, he was already in the movie Broken Arrow, which I thought was a pretty good movie as well. But do you think he would have got another role? Or is it, no, he wasn't going to get another role. Nobody was just take him serious. He's an ex football player, and nobody wants to see some muscle head like that. I
yeah,
disagree. I loved it. I thought it was. I
yeah,
I love this
same
movie. I
here.
thought it was really good for the time.
Yeah,
Do you think if it happened earlier in the 90s, maybe we still have the 90s to make these kind of movies?
yeah, I would say so. I would think so a little bit because in the '90s, that's when it kind of came in. You know, early to mid '90s is when those movies started to kind of really take off for you know for that kind of for that era, anyways. I mean, you know, and like they're saying that those movies actually started in the late '80s, but they leaked in to the '90s and continued on through the '90s. You know,
Mhm, mhm.
being that
Yeah,
it was '98. Excuse me. Being that it was '98, I think he showed up to that party a little late, man. So yeah, I think so. Man, excuse me. I think that if it had been earlier, he would have had a much broader career in that kind of genre. You know, I really think
yeah,
so.
yeah. It's possible, man. It is possible. I'm not really sure if people kind of saw it like, wow, it's already getting towards the end of the 90s, and we're gonna start moving action movies to we're gonna start making them a little bit different, and he just
Yeah.
doesn't fit it. What's up, party familia?
All right. Cool.
So, yeah, man. If anybody's interested, you could find the movie Firestorm on Amazon Prime,
Mhm.
YouTube, Google Play, Movies and TV, Fandango at home. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 12%. Rotten Tomatoes is trash, homie.
These brothers,
If
they're dirty, man. Like, come on now.
Okay, well, let me put it like this. When it comes to 90's action movies, not
Uh,
movies overall, but just 90's action movies, where does one Mr. Fred Segura rate this movie percentage wise?
on this one,
Yeah.
I would have to say, okay, 90s. Okay, wait a minute. Well, you know what? I would have to probably say like a good solid 75, if
Okay.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be up there. It'd be up there. You know, I'm not going to score it too high. You know, it's not
Right.
like, oh my god. You know, but then again, look, in the defense of that though, too, man, it's like if you'd have asked me when it first came out, it probably would have been close to, close to
Mm,
100, more closer to 100. You know, but being that time has changed, but looking back at it, I mean, I think it still holds up. You know, it's still one of those movies that kind of hold up. You know, with respect the era. You know, but yeah, I would say a good at least I think it's a good 75. You know,
yeah. If we're
yeah,
gonna stay in the decade of the 90's action flicks, I'm right there with you, Fred. I'm
yeah,
somewhere in between 75 to 79. I'm gonna put it in that range. I'll go
yeah,
78. We're only talking about 90's action movies. It's not great, but it's really good, especially when you're talking
yeah,
about 90's action movies. Yeah, it's pretty good.
definitely.
I definitely enjoyed it, man. So
No, yeah,
yeah, Rotten Tomatoes, they're out of their minds over there, man.
yeah,
But
yeah,
hey,
they're what I'm talking about. We,
let's
we
move
we
on.
need to take over them, bro. We need to take over the Rotten Tomatoes, bro, and change it
Man,
all,
what's
man.
the matter with them over there? Fred,
All right.
let's move on to the next
Uh-huh.
one. We are going to where is it? There it is. Okay. Ice T, man. The legendary rapper Ice T in the
Oh yeah,
movie Surviving the Game. Now he was on the movie Trespass, but that was more of a Bill Paxton movie.
yeah,
Ice-T had a nice big role in it, but he wasn't the main guy. Where
yeah,
here in Surviving the Game, he is the
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Going back to 1994, this movie is an hour and 36 minutes long. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 35%. 35%. Fred,
Mm-mm.
Fred,
No.
you recently saw the movie Surviving the Game.
Yes.
Basically, it's a couple of rich guys that like to hunt homeless dudes. They get
Yeah.
homeless guys. They promise them a great job, money, take them out into the wilderness. They feed them, and then the next day they kick them out on their way, saying, "You got about 30
Yeah.
minutes or so, man, and we're gonna hunt your ass."
Oh,
Fred.
dude. We're
Which,
not laughing things.
hey,
We're like, whoa.
you know what, Fred? That's actually pretty scary to think about, man. That
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you, Fred, that something like that has taken place.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's homeless people. There's good. I mean, when you think about the movie, I mean, the way he was approached, some of
Yeah.
these people that work with homeless people, I can almost guarantee you something like this has happened. Fred, talk to us about the movie Surviving the Game, brother.
Man, you know what, bro? You know what? You're not lying, dude. When I watched it, I was like, you know what? I had forgotten how great this movie is, though.
Mm,
I got to give it that. This one, I will rank a lot higher. I do think it's a great film. It's well scripted. It's well acted. You know, the acting is actually really great on that. We have a late Rutger Hauer. Yeah, Rutger Hauer, right? Yeah, did he pass? He was a great actor. Who else is in there? Charles S. Dutton, Rock, from the old Rock
yes,
show.
yes,
And I forget the other guy. The guy, the cowboy guy, the act. I forget his name. But then there's also F. Murray Abraham that's in there, It's just a great cast all the way around. You know what? And again, for the time period of that film, um, Ice T being fairly a new actor coming in from the rap genre, he did an excellent job in that. You know, as far as that film, two films that it reminds me of, kind of. Um, this is from what year? 1991, 94.
This movie
Right?
came out in 1994.
Okay, it reminds me kind of like not kind of, it heavily reminds me of Jean Claude.
Real quick. Artie Familia saying he's never seen it. Come on, Artie.
Oh, dude,
Come on, Artie. You
yeah,
gotta check this movie out, man. Ice T at his
yeah,
best because this is
yeah,
basically the only I mean he was good in Trespass. He was, but he
yes,
wasn't
yes,
the lead actor. He wasn't the
yeah.
guy. At this movie, he was the guy.
You know what? I dare say this, and I'm gonna go there. In Trespass, it was kind of like he's playing the rapper guy, in a
Right.
sense.
Right.
In this one, he really, really took it out of the ballpark, man. I gotta say, he really knocked it out. This one, and of course, well, we're not talking about the other films, but this one, yeah, yeah. um, the other thing I was gonna mention about that, man, it reminded me of I think it's kind of a take on a Hard Target, and then later on in '97 came the Pest,
Mhm.
which I think they based it off of surviving the game. But just to show that he really just, I mean, again, it's one man against a bunch of them, man. Just everything in general. Like you said, you've said it already. I mean, he's homeless. He's down on his luck. He basically he's got nothing. They offer him all this money. You know, food, and he feels he made it.
Mhm.
He says, "Hey, I made it," only to figure out that he's got to run for his life. It's just it's freaking wild, man. It's freaking wild. Like to even think about. It's pretty scary that there's people like that.
Right.
And
Right.
there's the one scene where Gary Busey, the other actor,
Yes.
that's in there, and he tells them this story about his dog and his dad, and
Oh my
you know,
goodness.
it,
What I
it
mean, that's definitely that that story right there sets the tone for the
yes,
movie. That
yes,
is, as a matter of fact, man, that's definitely a great scene in movie history.
yes,
Coming soon here on this channel, a great scene in movie
dude,
history. That storytelling with the pig's head
yes,
on the dinner table
yes.
when they're having dinner. What a great scene. If anybody's interested in catching this movie, you can find it on Amazon Prime Video, YouTube, Google Play Movies and TV, and Fandango at Home. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 35%, but me and Fred are saying BS on that one.
Oh yeah, no,
Um,
definitely.
you,
You
you
know
know,
what, bro? I'll say something about that scene. As a movie buff, a movie lover, and stuff like that, watching that scene is like really super intense. You know what I mean? What's up, Beth? That's my nephew Eddie. Uh,
I don't know.
it's super intense, brother. It's super intense, man. It's like, man, you're watching it and you're like, man, this guy ain't playing with the full deck, dude. Like it just Gary Busey, the way he tells the story, and then the other dude is just staring at him the whole time,
Mm,
Uh, just the acting in that film is superior, bro. Like it's just it's really really it's and it's really out there to the point where he's a doctor. No, I guess he's a psychiatrist or something, and IC tells him, "Do you to know that story?" Like what I mean? There's a little bit of comedy in there, you know what I mean? But it's like super intense to where when you don't know what it is, it's building up to what it's getting to, and then you start to understand these guys are just not playing with the full deck, dude. It was just pretty crazy. So yeah,
yeah.
I gotta say, I really, really, I'll be honest with you, man. I had forgotten how much I enjoyed that film,
Mm,
and when I rewatched it, I was like, man, this still holds up today. To be
Right.
honest with you, unlike the film we talked about before, it's in an era.
Mm.
Surviving the game, and you can still watch it today, and it's still just as great. I'll say that about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
and
Yeah,
one of the reasons why it can really hold up today is because you don't need any technology.
exactly.
He it's a homeless guy, which by the way, some people skip this in the movie, and I think it's a
Uh,
very powerful message. Ice T, he's homeless,
yeah,
and the only friend he has, spoiler alert, he
yeah,
passes away
yeah,
and his dog passes away, and he feels like, hey, I'm homeless, I got no future. He
yeah,
tries to commit suicide.
yeah,
Fred, he tries to commit
yeah,
suicide just for later on for him to really fight for his life. I think
yeah,
people don't really get that message. What is like, well, wait a second, you try to commit suicide, homie. So what does it matter if these fools hunt you down? Just stand there and
yeah,
take the bullets, right?
yeah,
But in
yeah,
reality, it's like jumping off of a building. It's like, oh, whoa, wait a second. You know, I
yeah,
regret jumping off, but I can't do anything now. I'm on my
yeah.
gravity's doing his thing and I'm on the fall, right? Tried
Exactly.
stepping he tried stepping in front of a bus and he was saved by Charles Dutton's character,
Yes.
and Charles Dutton, who turns out to be a scumbag. I was just like,
Yeah.
it sucks, Fred, because it was sad. It really captured my heart, man, because you had
Yeah.
Ice T telling them like, hey man, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
thank you for saving my life. Thank you. Just to become hunted later
Yeah.
on, man. I
Yeah.
just thought, like, damn, what's up, Joey?
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, what's up,
we're,
Russell?
we're over here talking about the movie Surviving the Game, man, from
Yeah. No doubt.
1994. And
Yeah.
what I like, man, is that Ice T, you could still see the street in him, homie.
Oh
You
yeah.
could still see the street in him, and good because he's a homeless guy from the streets. You still
Yeah.
see that in him, and you got all these rich dudes that just want to hunt down homeless guys. Fred, let me go ahead and throw this at you, man, because
Uh-huh.
there is criticism on why this movie did not do good. Because
Okay.
this movie came out in 1994. Okay,
Uh-huh.
the previous year, 1993, you had two movies that were compared to this one. One of them, I don't really compare it too much, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, that is Jean Claude Van Damme's Hard Target,
Yes.
which is it's pretty similar. It's a bunch of rich dudes that get homeless guys and hunt
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
However, in Hard Target, they're hunting them through the city of New Orleans, right? I guess
Yeah.
there's just no law enforcement in New Orleans,
Uh-huh.
and the other one is the movie Cliffhanger,
Oh yeah.
which I
Yeah.
mean, I kind of see the similarities,
Yeah.
sort of. I actually would make the similarity of Cliffhanger more to the movie that we covered already, Firestorm,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But those two movies, apparently, people have been saying because those movies came out in 1993, that hurt Surviving the Game because it's the same premise. You think there's anything to that?
You know what? Let me put it to you like this, man. I don't think so because, and I'll say this. It's like, and I'm gonna go off the record a little bit here. It's like, did you ever watch the remake of Death Wish?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Bruce Willis.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So okay, yeah, I think this is where it kind of goes a little different. See, when you watch Hard Target, Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Mm,
So you already know he's a badass.
mm.
You know, it's
And not,
kind of
not, not not to mention the hairstyle he had in the movie Hard Target.
yeah. You know, but what makes it different, and again, going back to the Death Wish thing, when you see Bruce Willis, you know he's a badass, Die Hard, and all this. When you saw Charles Bronson, he looked like a little guy, like just or
Mm,
whatever that wasn't even like couldn't even do anything.
mm,
Um, hence hence this film, when you compare John Claude Van Damme and Hard Target to Ice T, which is apples and oranges, you don't expect Ice T. Um, man, I really apologize for this stuff, dude. I'm probably have to go to the doctor for this, but anyway, um, what I'm saying about jump, I mean about Ice T, which plays what is it, Jack Mason.
Right.
The thing about the film, what really, and I think a lot of people kind of miss too, not only the part that you mentioned, his adrenaline just turns up to where it's it lives up to the name.
Mhm.
Surviving the game, he's on full survival mode, and you don't expect that from just a regular guy. I think that's what makes the movie great. But in answer to your question, I cannot compare um, Cliffhanger or even Hard Target for that matter, man. I just think people just slept on it. I used to have this on VHS. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I can't understand why they would compare it or why it didn't go the way it should have. Maybe it's because excuse me, at the time too, the people weren't very prone to have rappers become actors. So a lot of them,
Mm.
and I tell you from experience, because they used to tell people like about trespass and be, oh, cut it out, Ice Cube, oh, whatever, they
Right.
shut it off right away. They turned it off right away, and I think that's
Right.
what this film kind of suffered. But when you look back at these films, and the same people that were like, oh, they love Ice Cube now because of the films and stuff, and Ice T
Mm.
for that matter. Which you know what, in retrospect, let me add something to this. I actually got to meet my nephew Eddie and I. We got to meet Ice T before. Yeah,
Really?
so he's a cool dude, man. But anyhow, that's beside the point. Yeah, I think that's why the movie suffered mainly. I don't think it was really too much on those two films. I believe it's more on the. I think it's more on the rapper becoming a an actor, and people didn't really accept it too well. It took some time.
Yeah.
It took some time for them to come in as actors. I
Okay.
think people are more open to it now than they were before.
And
So
and
yeah,
and 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 just to be honest and fair, and I like Ice T, but just to be
yeah,
honest and fair, man, Ice T was one of the pioneers in the rap game. But if we're gonna be honest, let's be real, man. His popularity was not up there with like the Ice Cubes and the
oh
Dr. Dre's and the
no,
Snoop Dogs and stuff.
yeah,
He was doing it before those guys, and he's
yeah,
one of the cornerstones. But
yeah,
his popularity was not there with the rest of those guys like that, man.
no,
Um,
no,
I would say this, Fred. First of all, going back to that, I
uh,
don't really understand why you would throw Cliffhanger in there. Like I said, if I really try, I guess I could see the similarities, but that's really splitting hairs to me.
yes,
Um,
yes,
the hard target, I get it. The plot, the premise is still the same. It's a bunch of rich guys get homeless guys,
yeah,
offer them, something, and try to hunt them down, right? So I
mm-hmm,
do kind of understand that, but you're talking about JCVD, Holmes. You're
yes,
not. Is Jean Claude Van Damme is on another level. He was already. You already know you get some high kicking action.
yes,
Where Ice T, he's not this special martial artist, man. He's
yes,
just this street hood dude who's just home,
exactly,
So
exactly, bro.
yeah, it's a kick-ass movie. Who's your
Yeah.
favorite character in the movie, Fred?
In this one, it would have to be the God. I don't know his name. The cowboy guy, bro. The
John C.
yes, yes, yes.
McGinley.
Yes, because usually you see that guy in other movies, and he's kind of like he comes off as kind of like a little bit of a weak guy. And this one, he was like hardcore, man. Like through the whole thing, from the very beginning that he comes out, he's just staring him down, staring him down the whole time. Like he just has that look, like he's like, man, this guy's like bad news, dude. I mean, he was my favorite character in the film, in that
Yeah,
film.
going back to that dinner table scene.
Yeah,
Remember, it's like, well, who'd you kill? My
yeah.
wife and kid, and he took it super
And he goes,
personal.
man, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? The audacity these guys have to get mad at what they're doing. It's just. But you know what, bro? Like, let me bring it back a little bit. Let me bring it back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just thought about this. You know what's funny? Now that we're talking about this, well, we're talking about John Claude Van Damme and we're talking about Ice T.
Mm.
them two were in a movie together. Ice T and Jean Claude Van Damme.
Oh yeah, yeah. If
Yeah,
you take it back
they were
to
in Breaking.
Breaking, yeah, yeah,
Breaking. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He was a rapper, and then Jean Claude Van Damme is in the scene where he's over there dancing on Venice Beach
yeah.
next to the breakdancer.
He's wearing some tidy bodysuit or
Yeah,
something, man. Clapping, just
which is
moving
where
the
you're like,
shoulder.
oh, woo!
Yeah,
Like, it's
yeah,
funny, it's like, oh. But you know what? It's funny though because when you think about it now, and you compare these movies, it's kind of crazy, It's
yeah,
kind of crazy. Yeah, no, but yeah, no, that would going back to what you were saying though, bro. Is the yeah, that would have to be my favorite character because, and then without for those that haven't seen the spoiler alert, he befriends them. He
mm,
really
right,
befriends them.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and just kind of like wow, he kind of really turned them around and it showed the humanity in it too, bro. You know what, bro? I'm gonna tell you like this. After watching it again, I found a new love for that film again, dude. Like it
mm,
would be one of my favorite films, bro. And I don't have really in rank because I love a lot of movies, but that would have to be one of my really favorite ones, bro. I gotta say, from the acting to everything else to the story to just everything in general, bro. It's a good film, man. And those people that haven't seen it, you guys are missing out. I would highly recommend this film. Seriously, I would seriously recommend this film. It's
yeah.
something to really watch, man. Like seriously.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. The movie that we already covered, Firestorm, like I don't know how highly I would recommend it. If you didn't
Yeah,
watch it at that time, you're probably not going to enjoy it now. You
yeah,
you might, you might,
yeah.
but this one I do recommend it even now. I would look, Fred, um I would say this when it comes to the characters in the movie, right? My favorite character, but I think maybe my favorite character is a little bit disqualified because it
Uh huh.
was actually Gary Busey, but he's not in the movie that long.
Yeah,
I, I go back and forth with this, Fred. I'm like, you know what? The movie's good, but maybe it would have been a little bit better if they didn't kill off Gary Busey so fast. Maybe we stayed
yeah,
on it. But at the same time, maybe it's because he got killed so fast that he had such a huge impact in the movie.
yeah,
Maybe it
yeah.
could be that. So, but the main villain,
Rustin Howard.
shoot, Burns,
Burn.
played by
Rustin
Rutger
Howard.
Hauer.
Burn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Burn. Yeah,
yeah, I like his character. Nice, calm, cool, collective, and
yeah,
getting the other guy wild up. Right? It's like once the guy loses his son. I don't want to kill the movie too much, but once the guy loses his
yeah,
son, let's go get the guy who did this, right? Like he's
yeah,
just trying to pump him up. Hey, go get him, because now I'm a little bit afraid, man, that this dude's gonna take us out. But I like
yeah.
him. I definitely love the way the movie ends. It
Oh,
takes you
yeah,
all the way. It takes you all the way back to the beginning of the movie, and it's
yes,
like, oh, that is badass, man. That
yes.
that is. I love this movie, Fred. Before we move along, Rotten Tomatoes has this movie at what was it? Right here. It has it at 35%. How does one Mr.
Blasphemy.
Fred Segura rate
No,
this movie when you talk about 90s actions movie, man?
you know what? I'm gonna dare say, man, and I'm gonna go on the limb here, and I'm not just saying it because, and I'm saying, okay, I'm taking all this into account: the story, the acting, the emotion that it gets you through, the emotion that the characters have, the adrenaline that goes through it, and I'm talking not just the hunted, but the hunters. I'm gonna go dare say, and I might be pushing it, but I'm gonna go for it, bro. I dare say I would give it at least. I, I gotta say it at least between 90 and 95, bro. I would
Wow.
I would dare say that. I would dare say it's high up there, man, because it is a great film. It is a story well told. I'm stuck in the you know what? I'm gonna stick to 95. I'm gonna stick to 95. It
Wow.
No, you know what? Let me bring it down. Let me bring it down a little bit because when I think of iconic films, there would be 100. So let me bring it down a little bit. Let's just say I'll bring it down to I'll say a solid Um, I would say 89, bro. I would say
Okay,
89, just to be safe, you know, because
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
90.
yeah,
I think
I'm right
89.
there. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I would say 90, 90.
Yeah,
I would rate it. What a great action flick, man, of the 90s. Definitely just a one-hit wonder there. But man, what a classic. What a
yeah,
great movie, which like we've already said, still holds up till this day, man.
yeah, yeah,
Badass action flick right there. That
yeah.
is
Definitely.
Surviving the Game, circa 1994. Now,
Uh-huh.
Fred, let's move on to our last movie here, and that is let me change the background. That is Jeff Speakman
Yeah.
in his debut. I
Hmm.
looked this up. This was his first movie. Now, it wasn't his last movie, but it's basically the only movie anybody remembers him from.
Yeah,
In going back to circa 1991, the movie The Perfect Weapon. The Perfect Weapon
yeah.
is an hour and 30 minutes long. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 36%. Fred,
Oh,
talk to
well,
us a little bit about The Perfect Man. Now this is the early 90s, homie. This
yes,
is
yes, yes.
1991. We are
Keeping that in
just
mind.
yeah, we're getting out of the late 80s where we were already introduced to the blood sport, the cyborg, the kickboxer,
Yes,
Steven Seagal. We're just getting out of the big era with Chuck Norris and the Delta Force and all that stuff. So
yes, yes,
martial arts at this time, once you get towards the late 90s, the martial arts kind of died down a little bit.
yes, yes,
But in the late 80s, the new martial artists, which mainly is Van Damme and Seagal, came
yes,
into
yes,
play. So martial arts looked like it was really going to keep on burning hard, man, into the 90s.
yes, yes.
1991, Jeff Speakman comes in with his Kempo style. Talk to us about this movie, Fred.
You know what, man? After rewatching it, definitely 1991. It has. I will say this. It does have a very strong, very strong 80s vibe to it still. Because
Mm,
we're fresh out of the 80s, you know. It has a very strong 80s vibe to it, a 80s feel, you know. And again, in the defense of the film, we're coming off of we're coming into a new era, you know. And
mhm.
this is still kind of, into the new, it's coming from the 80s. But it it still it has that the it kind of gave me a vibe of not as intense, but kind of like excuse me, like the Last Dragon kind of deal, but a little more serious, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's a good story. But again, it is this one didn't age well. It's just, but it's of its time period. I think it's pretty good. I mean, because I remember watching it, and those are movies that my dad, excuse me, my dad loved those movies. It's like, oh man, those were our action packed films.
Oh yeah.
You what I liked about it too, one of the things I did, and I'll tell you what I did like about it, and I like the whole movie, but there's a montage between, I don't know if he's driving from, I don't know if he was driving from Corona to LA or whatever. He's coming from the IE or something,
Mm,
but there's a montage of a backstory to everything that he's been through, in between, in the
yeah.
very beginning, and it brings you up to speed, to current speed, up to what's happening to that current time. I think films like that are I thought that was great as far as filmmaking. I thought that was really good of how they did that. Um, this one does fall a little bit more on the cheesy side now. Even back
Mhm.
then, I think we were more accepted to it because again, coming off of the '80s. But does it have a good story? I would say yeah, to an extent. You know, to an extent, it has a pretty good story. It's action packed, and it's again, it's a popcorn flick, a little over the top, but nonetheless, you know, if you know, for the era, I think it's pretty good.
Oh,
I think
oh,
it's pretty good.
all right. Okay. Let me look. When we're talking about a lot of these movies, right? A lot of these martial
Uh-huh.
art movies from the 80s, from the 90s, right?
Yeah,
And you're right, Fred. It was almost kind of like you're not gonna see a difference from say like 86 to like 92. You're not really
yeah,
going to see a difference, right? I know they're two different decades, but they're kind of all mashed in together. And if
yeah,
you're talking about the early 90s, you're still going to get that, somewhat late 80s kind of feel to it.
yeah.
And I'm going to say this, man. What really sticks out to me about this movie
Uh-huh.
is the fight scenes. To me, this movie, the fight scenes in this movie, I would say probably beat any Van Damme or Seagal movie. I'm not saying the
Yeah,
movie itself is better than, say, like Under Siege or something like that. What I'm
correct.
saying is just give me the hand to hand combat fight scenes. I think I could put this movie up against any Van Damme or Seagal movie. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, when he's looking for information and he's
Oh,
all oh my goodness. I mean, come on, the liner
yeah,
right there. I wonder
yeah,
if I could kick your ass.
yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness. He takes
He's
on
a,
three dudes
well, leave
in
him
the
alone. Just stand.
dojo. Yes, he takes on three dudes in the dojo in just an incredible scene. And his fighting style is Kempo, which is you don't really see that in some
Yes,
of the other, main flicks. Um, I I I really enjoy this, man. Is
yeah,
it some sort of classic that you could go enjoy today? Probably not, but it's
yeah,
just a good action flick. Now, I will say this: a lot of those movies at that time, right?
yes,
Like if it's guys fighting in a tournament, if it's Van Damme fighting in a tournament, he's not a cop, right? But if you
yeah,
fast forward to the 90s, then he becomes more law enforcement in the movies like freaking Death Warrant and stuff like that.
yeah,
But what I'm saying is that Jeff Speakman, his character was not law enforcement whatsoever.
yeah,
He, while there's guns and shooting, he himself never used a gun in the
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
He was more like MacGyver, where you
yeah,
hand him a gun and he's all like, "I do better without it." He used his
yeah,
hands. He used the two sticks. He used
yeah.
that type of stuff.
Almost
I
like a Jackie Chan, no? Like a Jackie picking up whatever was around him and just
I
kind of,
A little bit,
yeah,
yeah, man. A
yeah,
little bit. I really I love this movie. When it comes to just the fight scenes, the action packed in it, I just I love it, man. And I thought he
yeah,
did an incredible job. So let me go ahead and ask you this then, Fred.
yeah,
What happened, homie? How come? I mean, if in this era, that's what was taking off, man. These kind of movies that was taking off, and I have not met somebody who has watched this movie. I mean, if you meet somebody who just barely watches it today, they might say like,
yeah,
"Ah, the movie sucks." But I'm talking about you watched it sometime back then. No, you didn't
yeah,
necessarily need to watch it the same year it came out, but somewhere in that area, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, what happened? How come he did not take off? He made another movie that I did end up watching, and that
yeah,
movie was horrible. I forgot the name of it, but
uh-huh,
it didn't make the impact. Nobody even heard of it. Uh,
yeah.
why not why didn't he continue?
I'll tell you why, bro. What I personally believe was the New Jack era. Was we had, I think around that time too, we also had New Jack City.
Yeah.
And then soon after, believe it was '94, Boys in the Hood, and that era just kind of took over everything, and just kind of like people stopped watching these type of movies. You know, it became more of a hood movies and more, the gangster feel. That's when that era kind of came in, including music and everything else. The New Jack Swing, all that stuff kind of came into play. I think it killed these type of films, man. I really do. I really think it took away these films. It took away a lot from these kind of
Well,
movies.
hang on there, Fred. Hang on there,
Go ahead,
because
go ahead.
this movie is connected with that jam. Again, we're going back to
Oh yeah, yeah,
1991
yeah,
with that song. I got the power. Come on,
yeah,
Fred. Come on, Fred.
yeah, yeah. With TMC Music Factory, I got the power.
Yeah,
Right? Had the
yeah.
yeah. Which you know what? Watching it now, I don't know, man. To me, like it just seemed a little bit out of place for the film.
Okay.
It just seemed a little bit out of place. I think the director or whatever it was probably his favorite song, and he
Okay.
said, "Hey, I want this in my movie." It was a little bit out of place, I think,
Mm.
for what it is. So but see, at the same time, in what you're saying, yeah, I agree. I agree because it was keeping up with the times.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it was keeping up with the times. So, yeah, yeah, I
I,
could say
I would say this, Fred. I would say this. Nothing really stood out about him.
yeah,
This was the era, like Stallone, Bruce Willis, those guys, they're not martial artists.
yeah,
They're just action dudes, right?
yes, yes,
Um, I mean, the same thing that goes with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but there's something that stood out about him. What
hmm,
I'm trying to get at is this is the time that really Van Damme and Seagal that really took over the martial arts scene in
yes,
the movie industry, at least in this side of the world, and things stood out about them. Van Damme, his accent stood out about him,
yeah,
and just his leg work, man. I mean, good
yeah.
gosh, dog. That's the
Streets and the
best,
roundhouse and yeah,
the best kicker I've ever seen in movie history. Honestly, the
definitely,
dude was just like
definitely,
crazy with it with his legs, what he could do, right?
yeah,
And he had his accent, right?
yeah,
And Steven Seagal, I guess his hairdo, the ponytail, there was stuff that stood out about him. He never really kicked, and you never really saw that in martial arts movies. You in most martial arts movies, you would see the person throw a couple of kicks. This guy's all about, his fighting style was completely different, right? And
yes,
it wasn't so much striking. It was always kind of using the other person's momentum to use
yeah.
it against him.
Aikido. It was the
Yeah.
Aikido style. Yeah,
Jeff Speakman, there was nothing really that stood out about him. He kind of looks like your average Joe. If he's walking
yeah,
down the street, especially at that time, he's walking down the street. It's like he's just your average, white guy.
yeah, yeah,
There's really nothing about him, that really stands out. So, but my goodness, dog, I really thought that he was going to be added on to, because I just thought this was a kick-ass movie, man. I
yeah.
I I really did. I thought the story was good. Going back to what you were saying, how it shows them when they're young, he's a little bit of a loose cannon, and
Mm-hmm.
the scene on the football field,
Yes,
that is powerful, Fred.
yes.
That is as powerful as
Through his
it
helmet.
gets. He Fred, he is there to defend his little brother. His
Yes,
little brother got assaulted, man. So he's there
yeah,
to defend his little brother, and now he's over here
definitely.
getting kicked out because his dad's all like, "Hey, man, you're too much of a loose cannon. You're gonna kill somebody, and I don't want your little brother to see it." Little
Yeah,
brother ended up becoming a cop, but he
yeah,
himself, he's just kind of like just a rogue dude, man, just walking around the streets. But
yeah.
man, Fred, I really, really love this movie, and just
yeah.
seeing the work that he did with the two sticks and everything, and the way he trains and he's beating up on couches to train, man. He's gonna go and take over take down this empire that took down his sensei. It's a kick-ass
No, yeah.
movie, man.
And you know what? Based on what you're saying to it, let me add this to it, bro. One of the things that made it really good too was, like you said about Jean Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal and all these other actors,
Right.
who are martial arts. With this one, he's getting hit and
Yeah.
he's getting his butt whooped a couple of times. He's like, oh damn, and he's got to recover now. It's more fun. He's not doing nothing extravagant.
Mhm.
He's getting hit. He's redeeming himself. But in the long term, it's a little more it's a little more excuse me. It's a little more realistic. Because
Mhm.
he's taking some punches. You know,
Yeah.
she's taking some punches. So in the defense of that, yeah, I gotta agree with you on that. Again, if there's some stuff that's over the top, the film kind of didn't age well. Yeah, perhaps. But if you take it for what it is, I think people will enjoy it. It was the end of an era, man. That's really what it is. And I think it's great. I think it's great. I thought it was good. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, man. I would say so. I love this movie. I really do. But like I said earlier, if you're barely gonna watch it today, you're probably not gonna really appreciate it. You're really
Yeah,
gonna you had to watch it, like I said, not right when it came out, but somewhere around that time. You had to watch it
yeah,
somewhere, 94, 95, 96 ish to
yeah,
really get it, understand it, and really, appreciate the movie. One of
yeah,
the best action flicks, man, from the
yeah.
90's, in my opinion. And before we get to the ratings, because Rotten Tomatoes has it at 36. Honestly, man, I'm gonna put this when we're talking about 90's action movies,
Yeah.
just simply 90's. I'm putting this sucker up at 95.
Oh, no, really?
Oh
Dang,
yeah.
dang.
Oh, Fred, I love this movie, man. You know what, Fred? You know what? Look, I
Yeah,
work
yeah,
out. Right? I like to get my workout on and everything. One
yeah,
of the songs that I do work out to is "I Got the Power."
yeah.
However, there is the "I Got the Power" where in between during the song, in between
Uh-huh.
the lyrics, they'll go ahead and they'll put that in there. I wonder if I could kick your ass.
Oh, really?
It's
Oh,
yes,
really?
yeah.
Damn. Oh, damn.
Oh,
Oh,
hey man,
dude.
hey man,
Damn.
I'm over there skipping rope or doing some pull ups, and I'm
Oh,
hearing that I got the power, right? The rapping and everything, and then in
yeah.
between I hear, I wonder if I could kick your ass. And
Oh, dude.
I love this
Oh, you
movie, man.
win,
This
though.
movie is badass. I love this movie. How does
Yeah.
one Mr. Fred Segura rank this movie, man?
You know what? In all fairness, due to the era and not judging it for what in today's world, judging it strictly from 1991, I would have to stick to it. You know what? I have to stick to it also. Um, oh man, you know what? No, sticking to the era, I would have to say a 90 as well. I would have to
Okay.
say, yeah, about a 90 as well. You know, just straight up about it because that's in all fairness because of the time period. We can't take away. See, that's the thing. That's the thing now too because somebody can watch it out and be like, really, you gave this much?
Right, right,
Well,
right.
you got to take it for it's like these movies are like for example, well, I mean, there's movies that are classics like Jaws, but
Mhm.
see, my kids and everybody else see they're like that scared you, you know, but for the time it was different, like The Exorcist or Jaws,
Right.
the time period was different. So yeah, I'll give it a 90 for the time period that it came from. So yeah, man, yeah, no, definitely give
Yeah.
it a 90.
And as you're talking, I was thinking, right? Because
Uh,
JCVD will probably go down as my just me myself personal. as my favorite action star of all time, even though I know
Mhm.
he's not the greatest of all time.
Yes.
Um, I think Stallone is.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
for
I
me,
agree.
yeah, but for me personal, just because I really fell in love with his movies, starting from Bloodsport and all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about it right now because Bloodsport, Cyborg, and Kickboxer were all 80s movies. Kickboxer was
Yeah.
made in 1989. So as I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna say that maybe this movie beats any JCVD movie from the 90's. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's better than Death Warrant.
Yeah.
I think it's better than Nowhere to Run. I think it's better than Hard Target. I think it's better than, especially some of the later ones. Once you got into the Time
Yeah.
Cop and
It
all that,
started to decline.
yeah, those really
Yeah.
started to go down. The only one I might say it's really good, which is you know what? Yeah, I probably gotta take that back because honestly, man, my favorite JCVD movie is actually Double Impact. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, maybe not, but it definitely competes with it. But what I'm just trying to say is, if you just stick with the 90's and
Yeah.
these type of movies, this movie can rival any one of them, any
Yeah.
one of them. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it will be better, but it would definitely give it a run for its money because it's that damn good. And what a awesome, what a badass one hit wonder, man.
No.
Too
Yeah.
bad, too
Definitely.
bad we didn't get any more, man. But I don't
Yeah.
think it
Yeah.
was gonna I don't think it was gonna get better than this one though. I really
No.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? We touch good on these, man. But I think it's a good, it's a good watch. There's some good watches, man. There's some good watches. With
Yeah.
these movies.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
it's one of those movies to just go back and reminisce, or you know, uh, harass your sons and be like, "Hey, come on, man, sit down and watch this movie with your
Yeah.
old man."
Yeah. Yeah.
Just say, man, just show them this is what I grew up on. Come on, check it out.
Yeah. I'll
So
probably tell my son on Friday. I'll probably tell him, hey, sit down. Let's watch Surviving the Game. I mean,
yes,
because he hasn't seen it. I know he hasn't seen it, so he'll be like, "Oh, dude, like this is crazy." Again, it's one of those movies that hold the time, that hold that time. It's few movies that do that are timeless. Like The Warriors is another one. I think that
oh
still
yeah,
holds today.
oh yeah,
So
oh yeah.
but yeah, I mean, all three movies. I gotta give it that. All three movies are great, man. In their time period. In
For
their
their
time period.
time yeah, for their time period, definitely they were good. Obviously, Rotten Tomatoes didn't like them,
Yeah,
but their Rotten Tomatoes are straight Rotten Tomatoes, homie. That's
yeah,
what they
yeah,
are, dog.
yeah,
Because both all three of these movies were badass, man. But
yeah, yeah.
anyway, we'll go ahead and we'll touch on some other one hit wonders, man. This was great, Fred. I
Oh,
enjoyed it, brother. We got to do
yeah.
this some more, man.
Oh no, you got it, man. You got it, brother. Hey, thank you for having me on, bro. This is awesome. Sorry, I have a cough, but it's just yeah. But you know what? When it comes to movies, bro, oh, dude, it's just a thing for me. Um,
I I'm
it's
with
just a
you,
thing.
man. It's an escape from
Yeah,
everything that's going on around you. I've said this before. I
uh
like watching movies by myself.
yeah, yeah,
Unless I'm showing a movie to somebody else. But in that case, I would already have no seen the movie. But
yeah.
when I'm watching a movie for the first time, I like watching it on my own, man, because
Absolutely.
I don't want people talking. I don't want people, hey, wait, I thought this guy was doing this. And like, shut up. I'm
Yeah,
watching
yeah, yeah.
I'm I'm
Yeah,
lost. I'm lost and engaged in the story that's being told.
yeah,
I like watching movies alone. I only like watching movies if I'm showing it to somebody because I already seen it and I'm
yeah,
recommending it. So, but
yeah. No, same here, bro. Same here.
with
Yeah,
that,
man,
Fred,
definitely.
anything else, brother, before we wrap it up?
No, that's really it, brother. That's really it. I mean, as far as when it comes to that, again, like, thank you for having me on here and talking about these movies, man. But I did my homework, bro, and I was like, okay, I got to freshen up. And you know what? Again, like I told you, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Like, man, it's kind of like, you know, listening to an old song or putting on an old pair of shoes that that still feel comfortable. You're like,
Mhm.
man, what happened to all of this? We kind of just moved away from it and didn't bother to look it up. We
Yeah.
dusted off, man, and kind of like, oh wow, I forgot how great this was. That's
Yeah.
really it.
Yeah, man. Good stuff,
Yeah,
man. Lots of fun. I highly enjoyed
yeah.
it, man. Well, that is one Mr. Fred Segura. You guys could go find him on Two Face Entertainment, Cholo Trucker, Moss Movies and Shows. Catch you guys on the next one.